Hoi, chummers! Just wanted to take a moment and let you know about our Patreon. While we release episodes of Shadowrunnin on Empty every single week, we actually have a backlog of about 4 episodes at any given time, just to give us a little cushion in case we can't record on our schedule for whatever reason. You know, like holidays or bug spirits. If you're interested in getting access to the episodes early, as well as a bunch of other benefits like artwork for the show, news on changes or rollouts, and sneak peeks at other things coming up, 5 new yen a month over on patreon.com/critical_hits gets you full access to all of the bells and whistles. You can even get a shout out for your support at the end of every single episode of Sinless as well. So if you enjoy the podcast and you'd like to support our work as well as get tons of bonus perks, that's the best way to do it. Thanks for your time, and let's get back to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Shadowrunnin on Empty. This week will be another special one-on-one episode with me and So Easy as we delve into this week's topic of 6th World Goodness. How you doing this week, Easy?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Not too shabby. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, I figured today would be a great day for you and I to dive into some urban brawl, especially since it's something that we're mentioning on and off over on the Sinless show with our Junior Urban Brawl League. Figured we might as well dive in, figure out the rules, and see how the game is actually played and where it came from.
Sounds fantastic. And as a reminder for everybody listening, we're hoping that you enjoyed the last week's episode where we did our inaugural Worm Talk. And going forward, if you got any cues, you want aid, and you want to make sure that you can catch all future episodes of it, you got to make sure that you're over at patreon.com/critical_hits and make sure that you are subscribed so you can get all that Worm Talk goodness going on in your life.
Oh yeah, that was some good worm talk.
All right, so urban brawling. How did, who did, where did?
Okay, urban brawling. We're going to the lovely year of 2022.
What?
I know, right? It starts in 2022. In an unlikely place, urban brawl actually crops up in France.
Okay. I mean, given, like, the kind of general knowledge I have about urban brawl, it's not kind of that surprising. It's kind of parkour-y, right? Like, it's got a little bit.
They've got those free runners over there, right? That's where parkour started, I think.
Exactly.
So we've got French street gangs who want to settle something with a fight on a piece of neutral territory by 2 armed teams. The side that scores the most goals in a simple ball game wins the beef.
I'm pretty sure I've heard of this game before. It's known worldwide as soccer, football. I should say football. It's known worldwide. Colloquially, we call it soccer.
Well, in this one, they crossed that game from a get the guy with a ball to a gunfight with the OK Corral.
Okay, well, that is fair. That is, I mean, granted, I haven't watched soccer in a while, so I don't think that that's part of soccer currently, though.
No, they don't have guns in soccer.
Okay, cool. All right. I will. Again, it's been a while, but
I'm pretty sure you'd get a lot more American viewers if they did.
That's true. If they want to get the American audience into the World Cup, you gotta just give everybody a gun.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it.
Jeez. So a French corporation was trying to reclaim a economically dead neighborhood in return to try to get extraterritorial rights like the big AA corporations that were starting to crop up. And they were not doing so hot in trying to do this. and they happen upon these local gangs doing this ball game street fight, and somebody comes up with the great idea of, hey, let's offer these crazy kids some money to play this game.
As all sports are born. Yep. That checks out.
Seems like a great idea. So they decide to put up cash purses, corporate assignments into their quote-unquote security teams, and other goodies to the winners of these fights. And the games really start to take off and grab attention. So they decide to organize them into official teams. Non-gang players were finally introduced in Germany in 2024. So you have to think that's pretty crazy that it only took them a year to get this kind of organized into a sport and for people to get a following for it.
I mean, I think timeline-wise, that checks out. I mean, usually we would get about a year of build-up to whenever they decided to try to bring the XFL back again, and then it lasts a year, and then it dies again. So about a year startup makes sense. Yeah, that checks out.
Around this same time in 2024 is when it gets co-opted into the UCOS in the Chicago area, where they had gangers plaguing some of its less than savory neighborhoods. And so they brought this game idea over to try and have the same thing happen that was successful in Europe, except at first they called it City Combat Game.
Ooh, okay, so the CCG.
Yes, it didn't really catch until they switched it to the colloquially known name that it is today, Urban Brawl.
Also, I imagine that they didn't want to get sued by Wizards of the Coast to try to copyright infringe on CCG.
I'm sure somebody would have got a nasty email about that.
I'm sure there was at least one drafted, absolutely. So, when Chicago got adapted as like the Western expansion team for this, they were the Chicago Bug Spirits, right? To start, that's...
It doesn't actually give the first Chicago name.
Oh.
I know, disappointing, right?
Well, in our hearts, I think we know what the answer is.
They were the Chicago Brotherhood.
Oh,
because
no.
nobody knew the Universal Brotherhood were bug spirits yet at this time.
They were known as the Chicago Spirit, presented by the Universal Brotherhood. That was their major endorser.
Oh, jeez.
The Chicago Spirit, huh? It's got a good name to it. I like it.
So while this game did start out mostly as something for gangers, eventually it appeals to just about all walks of life. Also, it was a gateway for the impoverished to try to make it off the streets. You could get your name in lights and get a good corporate endorsement and sponsorship. All you gotta do is be a good Brawl player.
Okay, that doesn't sound like it would be too hard to do then. What's pray tell would that entail?
Well, you have to try out for the team, so you have to figure out who's sponsoring, and then go through the corporate go-betweens to get a chance to audition. Another way is if you're in a corporate enclave, there are some felons who were thought to be tough enough and were offered indentured contracts to an urban brawl team instead of imprisonment.
Oh, okay. So we're doing what was the Gridiron Gang? Are we doing the Gridiron Gang? Okay,
yes,
cool.
Pretty
All right.
much.
I like it.
That gets into urban brawl. So if you're a corporate felon, instead of doing hard time, you could potentially join their urban brawl team for a set amount of years, however your contract is drawn up. I imagine you don't know how to negotiate very well.
I mean, it's as the old tagline for Urban Brawl goes, service guarantees citizenship. And would you like to know more?
So urban brawlers would come from almost every social class. These days even include university teams. Most
Ooh.
brawlers will still come from the streets, though,
Mm-hmm.
as betting survival against escape from poverty. You want to make a big name for yourself.
I kind of wish that there was an Urban Brawl team that was all like the Ivy League Urban Brawl team, and it was all like, like rich fancy people, and it was like they had hired muscle that worked for them on the team. It's like their position, they don't actually play their position, they just have other people that play their position, but they take all the credit for.
Oh, I'm having my driver sub in for me.
Yeah, exactly, right.
the the high society urban brawl.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I've got my martini and I send in my stand-in.
My father is the owner of this team.
Oh,
That's how I got my starting position. Now you go
yes.
play for me.
Yes. Oh, geez. Well, the first North American Championship, dubbed the Super Brawl, was held in 2037.
It's such a terrible name. It's I don't under this. I mean, come on, man. Like a little more originality would have gone a long way on that. The Super Brawl, the Super Brawl.
I mean, I figure they're going for familiarity. Super Bowl, Super Brawl. It gets people in the mindset of, oh, it's going to have all those commercials that I want to watch at halftime for the new
Okay,
products that are coming out.
okay, now you're speaking my language. Now, if the now like the if everybody tunes in for the Super Brawl commercials and the Super Brawl halftime show, then maybe we can have something to talk about there. But outside of familiarity, I mean, come on, man. I've always thought that the Super Bowl as well is like the dumbest name for the big football championship anyway, just in and of itself.
Well, then you're going to have to reach out to ESPN and get it changed.
I mean, but like think about it from the other ones. Like baseball has the World Series. Like granted, Major League Baseball does not incorporate much outside of North America, but the World Series is a lot more impressive of a title to win than the Super Bowl. It's a
I
big one.
guess.
It's an enlarged bowl. Yay. I've also always been disappointed that the actual trophy for the Super Bowl isn't just like a giant golden bowl. Like at least with Stanley, like the Stanley Cup, you get what you pay for. It is a giant
It's just
cup.
a giant cup. Yeah.
It's a giant cup and it's really cool, but like the
Mhm.
Super Bowl, I feel like we're really missing out on that one. Like
Should just
think
be a
about
bowl
think
filled
about it.
with money.
The winner of the Super Bowl, after they win, the MVP of the Super Bowl gets to take the Super Bowl and then they pour themselves a big old bowl of Wheaties, and then they get to be on the box of Wheaties. The next box of Wheaties that goes out as the MVP of the Super Bowl. It's guys, it writes itself. Like
I was thinking more of they fill it with the Gatorade they were drinking to jump on their coach.
no, I like to think that they dump it on the coach and then they wring it out of the coach, like out of the clothes of the coach into the bowl, and then dump it on the MVP.
Wow.
Yeah.
Secondhand Gatorade.
Secondhand, nothing's better than warm secondhand Gatorade. No way
Sounds
to
horrible.
no way to prove your prowess and ability as the top athlete than by being doused in warm secondhand Gatorade. Truly the highest honor.
Wow.
Okay, so the Super Brawl, lame name.
Yes.
Big
Super Brawl,
competition.
lame name,
Yeah,
2037. That was the first one in North America. To that point, European urban brawl was all the rave at the time, especially since the Euro wars were finally grinding to a stop in 2042.
Mm-hmm.
So the Corps decided to rebuild the infrastructure by hiring returning combat vets into urban brawl teams.
That makes sense.
Yeah, who doesn't want a stemmed up guy just coming off a war, crazed and ready to just get paid to fight people?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of these new brawlers were hooked on the battle boost drugs and chips that were used in the Euro wars. And this pushed the game's death rate to new heights, which obviously also meant higher viewing ratings.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The first International Urban Brawl World Cup. Is that a better name right there?
That it is a better name. Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
International Urban Brawl World Cup was in 2046 and has been held every 2 years since then.
I'm surprised that they're able to like refill the rosters with players in a 2-year span to be able to continuously do it that frequently.
Well, you think, I mean, like they said earlier, people wanting to make a name for themselves and get out of poverty. There's
That's
plenty
true.
of those people.
That's very true.
So you try your best and hopefully you make a name for yourself without getting killed.
Yeah, I feel like if you've made it like if you lived through like 3 matches of Urban Brawl, you're a seasoned veteran by that point, right? Like
Oh, definitely.
it's not like a 5 to 10 year span like with most other professional sports. It's like a game to game basis.
I guarantee you that Urban Brawl doesn't provide you with an injury report. For the spread, it just says injured or dead.
The injury report is they dump you outside the stadium and then they bring in the second string to replace you. And that's his big moment.
The second string. Here's the new up and comer.
Yeah, exactly. This young upstart, meaning he's alive and has a pulse.
Well, you'll be happy to know that Urban Brawl teams flourish in almost every nation on Earth.
Everybody wants a piece of that pie.
Yeah, they do. It's money, money, money. In North America, it's very popular. Only the Pueblo and Transpolar Inuit councils of the Nan and the Awakened Nation of the Yucatan ban the sport. So,
yeah, I guess that makes sense. So is then okay. So if the Yucatan bans the sport, I'm assuming that doesn't mean that it's banned throughout the entirety of like the indigenous area of North America at that point. Then it's just
no. See, in the North American nations, it's only banned in the Pueblo Council and the Transpolar Inuit Council. So
Alaska,
the upper portion, Alaska and most of northern Canada, and the Pueblo area, which is technically New Mexico, Arizona.
No, I don't get Urban Brawl. Are you serious?
Sorry.
Oh,
no Urban Brawl
Christ.
For you.
God, can't have anything nice in the sixth world, dude. It's
a nightmare.
Nightmare after nightmare, man.
League franchises are limited to 24 teams.
Total?
But 24 teams total.
Okay.
So that means in the North American League, you can only have 24 teams. In the German League, you can only have 24 teams, etc.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you meant like 24 teams worldwide. And
no.
Jesus, this is impressive. How like
this is just for league franchises.
Okay, gotcha. Per region type of thing. Okay, cool.
However, every 2 years following the World Cup playoffs, the top non-franchise team can challenge pro teams for their slots.
How many of the top non-franchise teams? Is it just the top one, or is it like top 5 to top 5, or does it give any type of...
It doesn't say. I would assume it's probably the top 2.
Top 2, okay.
Mm-hmm. So the top 2 minor league Urban Brawl teams get a chance to take a spot from the current pros.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's kind of like...
I think that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it kind of works similarly to like how the Premier League system works with football in Europe.
Yes.
I've been watching a show that's been talking a lot about how that all works, and I was like, that system is actually kind of slick. Like, I like the concept that if a team just is good enough that you could just be like, yeah, there you go. Get up into the top league, knock those guys down to AAA rank for a couple of seasons, let them get better.
Would this series that you're watching happen to deal with a possibly famous actor?
Or two. Yeah, that may have purchased a football team located in Wales. It very well could. But see, we're not sponsored by...
Yes. I've been meaning to check that.
We're not sponsored by them or the
Yeah, so they will remain nameless.
The TV channel who runs it, so they will remain nameless. But I will say, excellent show. Highly recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will have to check it out. National and continental championships are played under rules worked out by the franchises and their local league support. So in North America, that's the American Commission of International Sport.
Okay. I do find it interesting to have like a universally played sport that actually has like a globalized commission. I think that that's very interesting because I've always thought that it was weird that like it feels like the only other sports that do that are all professional sports outside of the US, you know? It's like within the US all of our stuff is very much like MLB, NBA, NHL, like all of those are very North American centric, I would say to a stretch. But I've always found it interesting that there's no like global hockey league, you know, like or like any like anything like that. It's like the closest we get is the Olympics, and that's every 4 years, you know.
Right. Well, now you have Urban Brawl every 2.
I like that better.
It's a little bit better, I think. We have the annual Super Brawl is a face-off between the 2 leading teams in North America, with the contenders chosen based off of their standings from the season. And it works much like the Premier League.
Oh, okay.
To determine standings. And I do have the North American Urban Brawl franchise listing as of 2052.
Ooh, okay.
So here are the teams as of 2052. Sadly, I don't think this list is updated as time goes on. So you only are getting it in 2052, and I don't think it gets mentioned again in any of like the 4th, 5th, or 6th edition books, which is kind of sad, you know? This is the extra little fluff that makes the game more interesting.
Yeah.
So, as of 2052, the Urban Brawl franchises consist, in North America, of the Ares Predators, representing Ares, the Atlanta Butchers from the COS, the Boston Massacre from the UCOS, the Chicago Sensations, representing a company called True Men Technologies.
Boston Massacre is a great name for a sports team, and the Chicago Sensations is a little close to what we were talking about.
I know, it really is.
We're approaching real close on that one.
There's the Chicago Shatterers for the UCOS, Cincinnati Lasers, UCOS, Denver Thunderheads, UCOS, Detroit Nightmares for the UCOS, the Havana Gorillas for the Caribbean League, the Lakota Arrows for the Suez Council, Los Angeles Bolts for California Free State, Miami Spears, Caribbean League, Montreal Assassins from Quebec, the Mountain Dragons, representing Dunkelzon Enterprises, New Orleans Tombstones from the COS, New York Slashers from the UCOS, Norfolk Battlers from the COS, Oakland Terminators, California Free State, Renraku Invincibles, representing Renraku, Seattle Screamers for the UCOS, St. Louis Slaughter, UCOS, Tacoma Wings for Federated Boeing, Tenoctilan Volcanoes for Atzlan, and Tishinian Warriors for Tishinian.
Is that one of the corps?
I think that's a small corporation, yeah.
Okay.
So those are the North American Urban Brawl franchises. Any one of them could be knocked out after the World Cup playoffs.
Okay.
For a new team to be able to enter into that roster.
Okay, so if this were to be the case, and seeing as how the book hasn't been updated since 3rd edition for the teams, I think that we should both pick a team that we want to remove from the list and submit our own replacement teams to take their spot.
Ooh, okay.
So I can go first if you want, because I've been thinking about it while you're saying it.
Go ahead.
So I nominate the Chicago Shatterers, because I don't think Chicago needs 2 teams. I've been saying that for years about baseball. I don't think Chicago needs 2 teams in the first place. So I say that we get rid of the Chicago Shatterers. And let's see who to replace them with. Somebody that doesn't have one that is usually. You know what? Actually, you know who is like relatively non-represented here, which is kind of surprising. I think Minnesota needs a team.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because they've got a team for every other major sport. We might as well.
What would you call them?
So I say we get rid of the Chicago Shatterers and let's replace it with the what would be a good urban brawl team name for Minnesota? I'm trying to think of a way that I can incorporate like Land of 10,000 Lakes into it, and I just like
it's tough, right?
I keep landing on like the 10,000 Pointers, and I'm like, that's not good. That's a bad name. Nobody wants to play for that team.
Well, while you think of it, I also agree that Chicago should not have 2 teams. And I am for removing the Chicago Shatterers and replacing them with a Lone Star team that is made almost entirely out of felons, right? Indentured felons, and call them the Outlaws.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a winner right there.
That's a winner right there for sure. Okay, I know that it's probably a pretty bad one, but I came up with one, and I think that what we go with for Minnesota is the Minnesota Twine Ballers.
Interesting.
Because a fun fact is the town of Darwin, Minnesota, which is where my dad is from originally, its claim to fame is that it is home to the world's largest ball of twine.
Amazing.
Which is prominently displayed in a glass gazebo in the middle of town square in Darwin, Minnesota.
That's awesome.
If it lends any credence to it, Weird Al wrote a song about it, so...
Fantastic. Even better.
You know, it's gotta be pretty cool, right?
So now that we've got our Urban Brawl team, let's talk about the Brawl Zone. So your franchise games are played in the streets in what are called Brawl Zones. These are selected before the season begins by the Gaming Commission, and the list of potential sites is very hush-hush. Okay. It includes about twice as many zones as the league will actually need.
Oh, okay. So in case it does get leaked.
In case something gets leaked, yeah.
There's a chance that they could just be like, nope, we're going here instead.
They could last minute change it. Brawl zones always cover a depressed area, usually an officially uninhabited area, such as your local barrens. The commission comes in and surveys the zones, looking for squatters and sinless, and then tries to shoo them or hassle them out of there so that they can activate the zone.
Okay.
A brawl zone measures roughly 4 city blocks long by 3 city blocks wide. Your official dimensions are 550 meters long by 420 meters wide, minimum, and the maximum is 680 meters long by 510 meters wide.
How big is that in rest of the world math? for those of us who maybe still don't have like a good handle on meters,
Yeah. For those of you that have not adopted the metric system yet.
That's me. Yep, that's talking about me.
Do you want it in yards or feet?
Feet is fine, thank you.
Okay. So 50 meters long would be 1,804 feet.
Okay.
Does that help give you a better idea? So it's a little over a mile?
Yeah, just a little over a mile.
Yeah, and then wide would be a little under.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so it's like a mile by mile.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a good chunk of land to be able to urban brawl.
Right? The game area must be bound by open streets on all sides. So that's like your out of bounds zone is a street. They use streets. The teams will know what cities their games will be in at the beginning of each season, but they don't know the location of the zones in the city until the zone is activated 24 hours before a match.
Oh, dang. I mean, it is nice that they at least give them 24 hours to still be able to kind of scout, you know.
True.
Not completely blind.
Any residents or squatters or people that are in the zone are moved out. Cameras and other gear is moved in. UCOS law says any citizen in the zone can appeal a game commission vacate notice, but many do not. Go figure. Mostly because they probably have no sin.
Yeah, yep. And also, like, I can only imagine what the type of legislature would be to try to fight urban brawl, like zoning permitting. That doesn't seem like it's probably a pretty good idea.
Well, to get people out of there, they've got fat payoffs. They are offered luxury accommodations during the game, and then reimbursement for any property damage.
Oh, yeah, that's not too bad. All things considered.
Once the zone is activated, League and network techs go to work setting up remote cameras and relay transmitters for the flocks of camera drones used to record the game. The teams study city map, blueprints, and other records to try and recon their side of the zone. Brawlers can go anywhere they can reach in the zone during the game. Inside, outside, upstairs, downstairs, doesn't matter. The more detailed knowledge a brawler has about the area, the more edge he's got.
That makes sense.
So 24 hours after the zone is activated, the game begins.
Now, how is the actual game of Urban Brawl played, pray tell?
Well, let's start with the brawlers. Urban Brawl players, under Gaming Commission rules, can use any cyberware they can cram into themselves. Limb modifications, body weapons, smart gun links, skill wires, all of it is legal.
Oh, dang. Okay. So a lot of goodness then. Now, is Urban Brawl itself like a lethal sport, or is it a non-lethal sport?
We'll get to that when we talk about their weapon loadouts.
Okay, fair enough. I feel like we're talking about a lot of modifications here. That's like, man, this really seems like they're just wanting to kill them, kill people.
Well, any modification is technically allowed, so
yeah, no, that checks out.
So, the team consists of 13 brawlers that go into the zone at the beginning of a quarter. Replacements are made between plays. If all of the offensive brawlers on one side get taken down during a single play by wounds or surrender, that team is the victim of a wipeout. The other team wins no matter what the score.
And then there's an announcement that comes over the speaker and goes, wipeout!
You know what? I probably would back that up. That makes perfect sense.
The referees all put on Hawaiian shirts and start
to let everybody know. It just comes over all the loudspeakers in the brawl zone.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so that's a way if the team is losing badly score-wise, they can just go to try to wipe out the other team.
Gotcha.
So here are your offensive positions. The offensive positions, any of these brawlers can carry the ball. You have scouts, which wear light armor plus a helmet, a personal sidearm, and there are 4 on a team. So 4 scout positions. Next, you have the bangers, which wear medium armor plus a helmet, have a personal sidearm, and there are 4 on a team. Then you have your heavies. Your heavies wear medium armor plus a helmet. They also have a personal sidearm and a brawler's choice of assault rifle, submachine gun, or shotgun, and there are 2 of them on a team.
Okay.
Then you have the blaster, which wears light armor and a helmet, but carries a light machine gun in a gyro harness mounting. And there's only 1 on a team.
I can't imagine why.
Right? I have no idea. There are 2 non-offensive positions. These 2 brawlers cannot carry the ball. One of them is called an outrider. They wear medium armor and a helmet, and they have a motorcycle.
Okay, cool. I like
And
it.
the motorcycle is sporting a cycle-mounted assault rifle, submachine gun, or shotgun. Then they have their own personal sidearm. And the outrider can fight and can also carry any other brawler on his cycle.
Does that include somebody who has the ball?
No, the ball carrier may not get a lift from the outrider.
Oh, okay.
So who's ever carrying the ball can't jump on the back of the outrider.
I mean, it makes sense, but I feel like that's less fun, you know?
Well, I mean, think of it this way. Obviously, you take your outrider and you have your blaster jump on the back, and then you have a mobile turret.
Yeah, and then you have probably a shotgun on the front, and then you've got your gyro turret on the back, and you're good to go.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I dig it.
The other non-offensive position that cannot carry the ball is the medic. The medic wears heavy armor plus a helmet, is coated with a bright, glossy, white-colored paint or medium, carries no weapons at all, and the medic carries a well-stocked medical kit. He is a non-combat position. He cannot engage in combat, and players who deliberately attack him are slapped with a penalty, unless he's on the Outrider's cycle. The bike is always fair game. So those are your 2 non-combat roles. And obviously your medic is very heavily armored.
As it should be. I think that like heavily armored reinforcing medic should be like the norm, you know?
Mm-hmm. So now you are wanting to know about the lethality of the weapons. And that's what we're going to talk about next. What are these weapons that they can have? Obviously, it sounds like they can have automatic weapons and shotguns and a light machine gun. So how deadly are these things? Well, just about everybody has a personal sidearm, and your personal sidearm is defined as any single action, double action, or semi-automatic weapon up to the heavy pistol class, including short-barreled combat shotguns, like the good old room sweeper.
Okay, that's pretty fun.
Brawlers can carry any amount of ammunition. Besides the weapons and armor specified, brawlers can carry almost any other melee weapons, external or cyberware. Monofilament and electrically charged weapons are illegal. The Outrider may ride any class of motorcycle, and the rules allow the use of a vehicle control rig, so your Outrider can be a rigger, and a brawler can pick up any discarded melee weapon and use it during play. An improvised weapon from the Brawl Zone itself is also legal, except for firearms, monofilament, or charged weapons that happen to be found lying about.
So in the 24 hours beforehand, could they go like stock up a bunch of melee weapons as like a depot for somebody to go to if they knew where the location was, or are they not allowed in the location at all?
Well, technically, that's what you could hire Shadowrunners to do for you. You
It
find
always
out
comes back to the runners.
It always does. There's always a reason for them. So obviously, you can use your live ammunition and any amount of ammunition that you want. So Urban Brawl can be rather deadly. Your armor. Your franchise team registers a color and pattern to which their armor must conform. Yellow or gold, which would obscure the lights woven into the armor, is not allowed.
Oh, okay. So you can't be like intentionally
Brightly colored
and distracting.
Right. The Gaming Commission rules that at least one dark and one bright color to minimize camouflage benefits from any particular pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Regulation armor must be equipped with Commission-approved penalty and surrender circuits. Brawlers are equipped with two-way radios, powered down to limit their effective range to the size of the brawl zone. Brawlers are checked carefully for implanted comm gear that might allow them to get information from observers outside the brawl zone. Anyone that has that type of gear must allow it to be neutralized during the game or be banned from playing.
Okay.
The ball.
Mm-hmm.
The regulation brawl ball is spherical.
Brawl ball. I don't know why, but the term brawl ball makes me laugh. I like it.
It's 65 to 70 centimeters in diameter, so it's the size of a soccer ball.
Okay.
And weighs 500 to 600 grams. Would you like that in pounds?
On it. Hang on. 1.1 pound for 500 grams. So, okay. So it's about a pound. So not too bad.
It is made of dense plastifoam and is coated with bright gold or yellow glow paint. So it will be clearly visible at a minimum distance of 50 meters, according to Commission rules. It may be carried in the hands or tucked under one arm. You can't stash it away in a pack.
Okay.
So now, more about the rules of the game. Now that we have our armor, our weapons, our team set up, and the ball. An Urban Brawl game is divided into 4 quarters. 30 playing minutes each. Each play lasts a maximum of 5 minutes or until one of the following conditions is met. A goal is scored, the clock runs out on the quarter, a ball is declared dead, or a wipeout takes place.
Okay, so outside of the wipeout taking place, if any of those other things happen, is that just the end of the quarter, or is that the end of the game?
If a goal is scored or the clock runs out on the play, both sides begin the next play back in their home goals.
Okay.
So it's like a reset.
Reset on point, yeah.
Yeah, if a ball goes dead, the opposing side, the side whose ball did not go dead, has an option. They can start over at their goal or resume play with all their brawlers in their present locations and their opponents back at their own goal.
Oh, okay.
If the play ends on a wipeout, it doesn't much matter who's ahead on points or what the losing side wants to do because they wiped out.
Yeah, the team that scores the wipeout wins the game, I assume, right?
Yes, that is the rule.
Okay.
The clock stops between plays because it can take a while for a bunch of people to walk back to their goals, clear casualties to aid stations, or start to maintain medical treatment, reload weapons, and so on.
Yeah, that checks out. I would have to. I like that a round is 5 minutes, and then a reset for a round is probably like a half hour. So it's like any given Urban Brawl match is gonna take like at least 2.5 to 3 hours to get through, and there's only actually like 20 minutes of game time in it.
You have to be ready to go 5 minutes after the play ends.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Average playing time for a game of Urban Brawl is about 4 to 6 hours from start to finish.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Including a 10-minute rest period between quarters and then 15-minute halftime break.
Oh my god.
This is an all-day event.
So even with that, just the rest, so just the rest and the halftime break, that's 45 minutes total.
Mm-hmm.
The 5-minute quarters, that's another 20 minutes. That's an hour and 5 minutes. Where's the other 3 hours coming into play so easy? What are we doing? What are we doing with that other 3 hours that we need this much time?
Well, look, there's stoppage time and, the out-of-bounds plays, obviously. And how they reset. You got to give them time to walk back for resets. So there's where your extra time comes in.
That's true. I mean, the playfield is a mile, so like at the best case scenario, it's at least a half a mile walk back for reset. So I guess that makes sense.
So I have to say, knowing all of this now, that Urban Brawl is the most intense, physically demanding sport of the sixth world.
That's totally fair and true. I absolutely agree with that. 100%. Like, it's pretty impressive. It's definitely impressive.
Mm-hmm. So, as the game is played, traditional offense and defense does not actually work. That's not a thing. Both teams are on offense and defense at the same time the whole time. Each team carries a ball and tries to score while preventing the other side from doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
Once play starts, the team has 30 seconds to get the ball out of its goal block. So you can't just hide out in your goal and wait for the other team to come to you.
Oh, okay.
If they fail to move the ball beyond their own goal, a freeze penalty is called on everyone on the team except the ball carrier.
Ew.
The team has another 30 seconds to get the ball out of the 3 blocks adjacent to their goal street. During the remainder of the play, if the ball stays in the same block for more than 60 seconds or is carried back into its own team's goal block for any reason, the team is again hit with a penalty until the ball carrier moves into a legal block.
Okay.
So you have to be constantly moving. You can't just hang out.
You can't turtle, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A team has to decide how to divide its forces to protect the ball during its travel through the brawl zone without leaving their own goal wide open. Would you go for an all-out heavy offense, or would you try and split your team to keep things even and then hope that you can swing team members back to where they need to be in case you're hit with a heavy push?
Mm-hmm. Now, what does the goal situation look like in Urban Brawl?
A circle 4 meters in diameter is marked by colored neon glow paint somewhere on the street at each end of the brawl zone. The circle serves as the goal. The block it is in is considered the goal block. A team may move its goal to a different block on the boundary street at the beginning of each quarter, so you can move your goal zone.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So that way your opponent is never quite sure where they want to hit the street when a new quarter starts.
Yeah. And so all they have to do is get the ball to the goal zone, and then that's the score.
That's a score, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, a team scores if a ball carrier gets the ball into the opposing team's goal. The Commission rulebook used to restrict goals to, quote, live ball carriers. But after the 2044 season, where there were 6 disputed decisions over whether the carrier was still alive when he entered the goal circle, the Commission changed the rule.
That's pretty good.
As long as the ball is in the brawler's hands or somehow attached to his body, when he gets into the goal, it doesn't matter if he's alive or dead.
So I like to imagine that this is because there was at least one instance where they like had the ball and they were running and they did like a a leaping dive to get it into the goal zone, and then we're just blown in half halfway through, but the top half still lands in the goal zone with the ball in there.
Still counts.
Still counts.
So here's the example. It also doesn't matter if he got there under his own power or was blown 10 meters across the pavement by the opposition's blaster and hit the goal area in 2 pieces. So
there
you're right.
Go. Yep, there we go. Called it. Called it. Job well done.
Any ball carrier can pass or hand the ball to any other offensive brawler at any time. If the ball hits the ground, the team has 10 seconds to recover it. If they don't recover it within that time, the ball is declared dead. It also goes dead if it is picked up by an offensive brawler of the opposing team.
Oh, interesting.
Remember, if a ball is declared dead, they do the reset.
Right. Yes.
So if you get your opponent's ball and you get the ball declared dead, you can force them to trek back to their goal zone, and your team would still be where they're at in the brawl zone.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably a good idea to be able to try to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've talked about offense, defense, the game basic rules, and scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So now what happens when a brawler goes down?
I assume that wherever he lands, there shall he be buried. It's the rule of Urban Brawl.
So a brawler keeps playing until he is disabled by his wounds or until he surrenders.
Okay.
Brawlers who surrender too easily will end up seeking other career opportunities.
I like to imagine that, like, any other type of job where they're like, you value your own life too much, Jerry. We gotta let you go. we really feel like you're not literally giving it all out there for the team, and so we're gonna have to let you go.
A brawler can trigger his surrender switch anytime. The switch activates a pattern of bright yellow glowing tubing woven through his uniform. There's a particularly broad pattern of yellow tubing running up the spine of the uniform. The surrenderer...
So it looks like the health meter in Dead Space?
Yes. But also, think about it. It's all yellow, so it goes up your spine.
Yep.
So you're yellow.
You're yellow. You're
a cat. Yeah.
Got him.
The surrenderer. The surrender switch also triggers the brawler's penalty circuit, and he is under a kill penalty for the rest of play. He can re-enter the game on the next play.
So if he tries to, if he marks himself as surrendered, but then tries to do something in the actual game,
that's a
he
penalty.
just gets fried. Gotcha.
Yeah, surrender is the same as being taken down. If all of the offensive brawlers on a team go down or surrender, it's a wipeout. Disabled brawlers can be attended by the medic where they fall. They cannot be transported until combat in the block of the brawl zone ceases, either by moving elsewhere or stopping at the end of play. When the area is safe, pickup teams move in at once to evacuate any wounded brawlers.
Okay, I have a hypothetical. What were to happen if, say, a Urban Brawl player also happened to have a dock wagon contract?
I assume that it is disabled during the state of play.
Okay.
You can't just have dock wagon land in a brawl zone. Just annihilate your competition.
That's, well, That's what I was wondering. Like, could you like is that like a strategic move?
That
at
is
that point?
definitely against the rules.
Oh, okay, well, fair.
I mean,
thought,
if you
maybe
well, think about it, they disable radio communication that goes outside of the brawl zone, so that is considered a communication that would go outside the brawl zone.
Yeah, it is. Okay, that makes sense. All right, fair. I just thought, that would be kind of funny if somebody just goes down and then all of a sudden just Dockwagon rolls in.
Well, here's Dockwagon. Wounded brawlers can get first aid at aid stations located just off the field at the ends of their goal streets. Any brawler who is evac'd to a hospital can be replaced in the next play. Only the on-duty physician who reports to the Gaming Commission can order an evac.
Okay. That makes sense.
Typical field measures for wounded brawlers consist of dressings to control bleeding and fractures and heavy doses of painkillers and stimulants to get the players back into action.
Yeah, yep. You know what it reminds me of? Did you ever play, I think it was Blitz the League?
Oh,
It
yes.
was like the last NFL Blitz game.
Where you could just DDT other players.
Yes, but the thing that I loved was in Blitz the League, they had like the injury system where if a character got injured and they get taken off to the side of the field, you can literally just stick them with like 4 syringes of adrenaline and like, anesthetic to just make them numbed out and then send them back into the field. But then also there's like a percentage chance where if you try to adrenaline shot your player, they could just die of a heart attack. So now I'm just imagining that that's the case with Urban Brawl, where they're like, sir, his spine is broken, and they're like, doesn't matter. Get that adrenaline out there. He can crawl back to the goal zone for all I care.
Get him in there, Mick. Get him in there.
Get him in there. We got 2 million new yen riding on this kid. We just drafted him to the team. You gotta get him back out there.
We'll just give him a replacement spine. It's fine.
That'll be before the next game, but he's gotta finish this one if he wants it.
So, magical healing is not generally available. If a team has contracted a magical healer, once he or she applies curative magic to a brawl player, that player cannot re-enter the game and must be replaced.
I mean, as we had covered as well in the magic episode, or was it the drugs episode where we talked about magical healing?
A little bit.
Episode? Magical healing seems like it sucks ass. So, like, to be honest, I would rather just have like cyber implants. I would if my arm gets torn off in a game of Urban Brawl, I would rather just get a robot arm than have it be reattached with magical healing.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, so penalties. Here are the penalties for Urban Brawl. Penalties are rated as wounds, kills, or freezes.
Okay.
Wound or kill penalties are called on individual brawlers, and a freeze penalty affects the entire team. A wound penalty immobilizes a player for the rest of the play. A severe rules infraction earns a brawler a kill penalty. He is kicked out of the game, and infractions that cause death or injury may be persecuted as criminal acts in a player given a kill penalty cannot be replaced until the beginning of the next quarter. Not the next play. So you have to wait a whole quarter.
Oh, wow. A whole 5 minutes.
If all functional players on a side receive kill penalties during one quarter, their team forfeits the match.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Uniforms are wired, again, with that regulation penalty circuit that gives any brawler who moves while he is under a penalty a disabling shot of electricity.
Fun.
Any brawler who tries to disable his penalty circuit earns a kill penalty. All brawlers have a 10-second countdown over their radios before a penalty is applied to any brawler. After the countdown, the offender's penalty circuit kicks in, and his surrender lights blink on and off for the duration of the penalty.
Okay, fun. Yep. That makes sense. Denoting his penalty. Yep.
A wounded player's penalty circuit stays on for the rest of play. The penalty circuit of a player awarded a kill penalty stays on until an armed commissioned security escort arrives to escort the player out of the brawl zone.
Okay.
And a freeze penalty lasts until the officials decide to end it.
Oh, wow. So that one's just nebulous. That's a nebulous penalty.
Yes, it is.
Interesting.
Not good. Not good.
Yeah, don't want that one.
Medic uniforms do not carry penalty circuits, and medics are not subject to wound, kill, or freeze penalties. A medic who violates the rules is kicked out of play, but is replaced immediately instead of at the next quarter.
Oh, so they just swap to a new medic. So there's always a medic on the field.
Mm-hmm. If a freeze penalty is called on a team, any wound or kill penalties in force against the opposing team are canceled. If all the active brawlers on a team earn penalties simultaneously, it is not considered a wipeout. Instead, the ball is called dead at that point, and the other team chooses from the usual options to begin the next play.
Interesting.
Here are your reasons for penalties.
Okay.
Arson.
Start off strong. All right, cool.
Deliberately setting a fire in a brawl zone earns a kill penalty and means an automatic loss for the team if the game has to be canceled.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's what I was going to ask then. So I guess there's no fire allowed in Urban Brawl at all, huh?
No flamethrowers.
No flamethrower. Okay, because I was going to say, like, if fire was part of Urban Brawl, I was like, where do we draw the distinction? What's the distinction between arson and a defensive maneuver at that point? You know, like
right? Deliberate attack on disabled or surrendered brawler earns you a kill penalty.
Okay.
Deliberate attack on a brawler under a penalty. A wound penalty if the attack misses. A kill penalty if it hits.
Oh, jeez.
Illegal intelligence. Any team receiving information from outside the brawl zone during a game forfeits the game.
Oh, wow. So that's just a straight up L.
The Gaming
Fair.
Commission has a pretty awesome lock on jamming technology for the means of cheating, but magic could be a problem. An astral magician or even a spirit could relay information to brawlers.
Couldn't they just put up, like, a barrier around the Urban Brawl area as well, though? Because don't they have the barriers that...
Yeah, while the Commission employs astral security firms to protect and prevent this, one of the paranoid fantasies of the Commission is that overly skillful or lucky teams are actually getting reports via astral space that help them find opposing brawlers.
That's pretty good.
Even though there hasn't been an official verified case of magical cheating since 2043.
So anybody starts to get too hot, they're like, watch for those mages. There's something going on here.
Scan them astrally.
Yeah. Nobody just wins 3 games of Urban Brawl in a row.
Insufficient offense. If the ball carrier is still in his own goal block 60 seconds after play begins, a freeze penalty is called on every member of the team except the ball carrier. The penalty stays in effect until the ball carrier leaves the goal block. He and his fellow brawlers have to catch up with each other as best they can after that.
Oh, okay.
The penalty also applies if a ball carrier is in any of the 3 blocks adjacent to his goal street 2 minutes after play begins.
Okay.
Likewise, if the ball carrier spends 60 seconds in the same block, a freeze penalty is called on his side until he moves into a different block.
Okay.
An official can also call insufficient offense if, in his opinion, the ball carrier is not making an effort to get the ball to the opposition's goal.
I like to imagine that there's just been like a guy who just has the ball on the ground and he's just like kicking it like a couple of feet, like he's like, oh, fucking whatever, just move it forward, I guess. We'll go. Like, he's just really having a bad day. He's not really feeling it that day. And he's like, just move, ball, whatever. What do you want?
That rule is enforced pretty loosely, but basically prevents ball carriers from going to ground in basements or skipping back and forth between the same 2 blocks to avoid contact.
Okay. So it's to prevent turtling, basically. You have to be forward momentum with the ball if you have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you leave the brawl zone, that is a wound penalty.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm surprised that if you leave the brawl zone that's just not like a dejection from the game.
I know. Well, accidents or being pushed out, you know.
That's fair. I just assumed it was like Blood Bowl, and if you get pushed out, then all the fans on the outside of the brawl zone just get to beat the shit out of you.
Right. Roughing the medic. Deliberately attacking a medic earns a kill penalty.
So
if the medic. Go ahead.
Sorry. So the medics can't be attacked, right? They're like
no, they cannot.
Regarded as non-combatant units.
Yes.
Okay, that's. I was pretty sure that we talked about that before when we talked about Urban Brawl as well.
Yeah, if the medic is wounded or disabled, a replacement medic is sent in immediately.
So realistically, like the cushiest position in Urban Brawl is to be a medic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you never have to worry about being attacked. You just have to be good under stressed.
Well, I'm pretty sure there is on occasion somebody waiting for the refs to look the other way and then just, incapacitate you briefly so that you can't get to where you're going very fast.
I mean, I just imagine that everybody in Urban Brawl is looking for the refs to be looking the other way at every point during the match. Like, yeah. So
there's also roughing the officials. A kill penalty is called on any player who attacks an official.
Sometimes they deserve it, though, man. I'm just. Sometimes they get shit calls. Like, I don't know what to say.
Unauthorized ball carrier. If the medic, the outrider, or a player mounted on the outrider's bike takes possession of the ball, or the ball carrier mounts the outrider's motorcycle, the ball is called dead at once.
Oh, okay.
Unnecessary destruction of property is a penalty. This penalty rule is designed to cut down on damage that the commission will have to pay for later. Shooting at a car because someone is using it for cover is fine. Doing it just for the frag of it draws a wound penalty.
Just for fun.
Just for funsies.
Just for funsies.
Unsportsmanlike conduct gets you a wound or kill penalty at the discretion of the ref. This rule includes arguing with a decision, interference with a media device, and so on.
So you're not allowed to attack Fox Sports, ESPN 8.
You can't shoot down the Ocho cameras.
You can't shoot down the Ocho cameras, damn.
Finally, the last penalty that you can expect to possibly run into is the use of unauthorized firearms. Picking up someone else's gun earns a wound penalty. So if you are not the team's designated blaster, then you can't pick up the light machine gun if he drops it.
So, does it have like the Judge Dredd style like ID, like fingerprint ID scanner situation?
They actually do have that in the Sixth World. You have the gene coding locks, so I would imagine that they are installed on the weaponry that is specific to the specified player type.
Yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't do that with melee weapons, obviously, which is why the rule is if you find a melee weapon on the ground, you can use it.
Yeah.
And finally, to officiate our Urban Brawl games. There are 2 to 4 officials to cover each city block of the Brawl Zone.
Okay.
Officials wear partially heavy armor coated with white glow paint and marked to show their status as referees, technicians, or biotechs.
That's a lot of officials.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Officials' armor is wired with a set of pickups that let them scan the zone through any of the fixed mounted cameras. They can also check the action through the signals from any of the hundreds of surveillance drones that buzz through the zone, catching all of the action for the folks at home. They're allowed to carry tasers to defend themselves from the occasional crazed brawler. You know, for that one guy that's just too hyped up on combat stims and can't quite stop himself.
Yeah, he's still in the middle of his rage trip. You know, he's just yeah.
Here he got those tasers.
Yeah, are you ready to go? I think that a lot more sports would be entertaining to watch if they gave referees tasers in case competitors tried to just like fight them on these.
That would be funny. Could you imagine tasers in European football?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Arguing with the red card.
No, dude, instead of the red card, in lieu of a red card, you just get tased.
Are you arguing with my decision? It seems like you're arguing too much with my decision.
You just hear every time you just hear the referee go, "I feel threatened," and then he takes.
You know what? Freeze on your team, and you get a tase.
Free kick for the enemy team, and also one for the road.
Get your medic over here to tend to that.
Oh man! Again, you want to get me into watching soccer? Give the refs tasers. Oh, it'd be so much more interesting.
Now there is a smaller version of Urban Brawl that is also less lethal, called Arena Brawl.
Okay.
So in Arena Brawl, instead of the city blocks that they use, it's an actual arena that they've put together, right?
Uh-huh.
So more like a football stadium.
Okay.
So the games are staged in arenas to mock up to look like street zones.
I like to imagine that it just looks like the set of American Gladiators.
Maybe.
just a bunch of like cushioned swinging pendulums. And
well, you know what it would probably look like? It would probably look like a shoot house that police or military get trained on to go through.
Oh yeah, with the little like cardboard pop-up dudes in the windows and stuff. Mm-hmm, yeah,
exactly.
Okay, I can see that.
So the other thing is you have to use non-lethal ammo, so you can only use stun and gel rounds because you're in an arena and they don't want a stray bullet to kill somebody sitting in the stands.
That's understandable. Yeah, that checks out. I mean, if they get tased every now and again, you know, that's a cool story that they get to tell around the water cooler on Monday at the Megacorp. But
you also have dummy melee weapons doing stun damage rather than the real thing.
So, like stun batons and
and blunt weapons, baseball bats, things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't use implanted cyber weapons in Arena Brawl.
I like to imagine that for the baseball bats, they have to use like the big fat plastic, like the T-ball bats. So it's just like they're just running around with like these giant, thick, rounded plastic bats, and it's like,
y'all want to play wiffle ball?
It's like, oh, it looks like two of the strikers are on each other, and it's just like dunk, 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 just back and forth.
Oh man.
Boy, he's really laying into him today.
Arena Brawl is fought in scaled down game zones in the same playing area as what combat bikes would be. So it's a 150 by 50 meter area.
I gotta be honest, I'm kind of surprised that in like our actual reality, we don't have something like Arena Brawl. That seems like something that would totally be like a professional sport that we should have.
I guess the closest thing that we have would be paintball. It's paintball, but we don't have melee weapons.
But well, not even that. Well, technically, you could. Have you not seen the paintball knives? They're like they're literally just like paintbrushes. It works the same, right? But it's the.
Well, hey, maybe we're missing out on a whole thing here. We could get our own arena brawl started.
It's the ball aspect is the part that's missing that makes it more interesting, because like the thing with paintball is paintball's entertaining, but at the end of the day it's just one team has to shoot the other team more with paintballs. But like the sport aspect of Urban Brawl, I think, is what makes it more interesting as a concept.
Well, hey, maybe we've got an idea here and we'll just need to pitch it to some ESPN Ocho.
Hey, I'm saying, man, listen, Vince's second attempt at the XFL went under and The Rock bought it. Vince McMahon could be looking for a new sports venture right now, is all I'm saying, alright? If we were to pitch him Arena Brawl, we could be sitting on something, is all I'm saying.
What do you guys think, listeners? Let us know.
Yeah. Would you buy season tickets for Arena Brawl in your local town? What do you think?
Hey, we could make it go international.
Listen, we gotta start somewhere, alright? Then we go international. Right? I mean, to be honest, I think that Arena Brawl just sounds like it would be more entertaining from a personal standpoint.
Well, you don't have as many drones, and it's a little bit harder to follow the action.
I mean, that's fair, but, like, it feels like it would be faster, which I think for that type of, like, combat sport matchup would just, in and of itself, lead to be more entertaining. Because if everybody's wearing light armor, you're going to have a lot quicker gameplay that's going to be going on in the first place. So, I don't know. Arena Brawl seems... I think Arena Brawl would be my preferred of the two, personally. To be honest, I like the IFL more than the NFL. So this kind of checks out, man. Like, I think that I just have a type.
You may be. All right, and that covers the in-depth look into Urban Brawl, all the rules, how it began, who's involved in it, and now you, dear listener, are that much more informed, in-depth into this great urban combat game that cropped up during the Sixth World. You now know that there is an international version of it, and it can also be played in an arena instead of out in an open area.
Again, I think Arena Brawl would be a lot more possible than Urban Brawl. I think that we would still be a ways out from Urban Brawl, but I think Arena Brawl would be a real possibility. Yeah, we have to just accept again as a society that we do in fact want blood sport. And then we can bring back actual Urban Brawl, but while we're all still pretending, we'll go with Arena Brawl for now. I did also look this up because I just thought that it would be interesting in regards to my suggestion for the Minnesota Twine Ballers. If they actually based their home arena out of Darwin, Minnesota, fun fact here for you, as of the last census taken, the total area of Darwin, Minnesota is 2.08 square miles. So literally half of the city could just be an Urban Brawl arena. And the total population as of 2020 is 348 people. So not a lot of people to have to get out of the way for Urban Brawl.
Obviously, why aren't we doing this? Come on, let's get it started.
I'm just saying. And then right in the middle of the Urban Brawl arena is the Twine Ball. I'm like,
perfect.
Guys, come on.
This writes itself, okay? You guys, let us know what you think. Do you think we could get Urban Brawl or Arena Brawl up off the ground? Would it be a sport that you would watch? What is your suggestion for a team name to enter into the North American Urban Brawl franchise list? And yeah, just let us know. Are you actual Urban Brawl Bloodsport, or are you more the less lethal Urban Brawl Arena?
You can either let us know over in the Discord channel, where we do have a channel set up for Shadowrunnin on Empty, if you want to talk to any of the three of us about anything that we talk about here on the show, or Once more, if you'd like to join into the Patreon page, make sure to check out patreon.com/critical_hits and throw in your team suggestions there. And if we get enough team suggestions on the Patreon in our next Worm Talk episode, maybe we'll go over the teams and the suggested mascots and see what we can get going.
Yeah, maybe we'll have an updated Urban Brawl list
Yeah,
to be able to carry into, the 2070s, 2080s.
Maybe some of those will show up in the Sinless. Who knows?
Oh, hey, anything's possible. But it's only going to be possible if you guys come and help make it happen. I will say that.
Absolutely. But a fantastic episode. Thank you, as always, Easy, for the knowledge and fun times learning about the brawling of urban environments.
Indeed. I think it is one of the more interesting games that was created for a role-playing game, of all things.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing. Some of this lore is so deep and it's so great, and I love being able to share it with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to come back for the next one. We will catch you guys later. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
The Topps Company Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sound, audio, video, and or any proprietary materials used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company Inc. has granted permission to Critical Hits to use such names, logos, artwork, photographs, sound, audio, video, and or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with Critical Hits in any official capacity whatsoever.